B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. Big block engine with 26 inches on the chrome I ride. Started at the bottom, soared to the top and still on the ride. Air handshake solid, see the deal airtight. He gave you the blueprint to grind and get your hustle right. Money in the vision, it was dirty but he washed it clean. Turned a dollar to a dream, now he living like a king. From the late nights grinding to the early bird moves. Ask around the city, he really that dude. He love how he talk it cause he walk it too. Every step calculated, everything come through. From the hood by the views, yeah, the rooftop views. He the bridge between the struggle and the good life views. Never fold under pressure, shine like a diamond in the sun. Every loss was a lesson, every win is hard won. Now the crowd chant his name when he steps in the room. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, you know he's the truth. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream, back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. Controversial, but it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting, and I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. So since I don't like to keep y'all waiting, and before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても自分は世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ない。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji eating tandoori and chicken curry, that ism is really indie. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of better.
And we are activated. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Before I get into it, I've been joined by an illustrious guest, sunlight from the Sunshine State, shining brighter than a diamond. My Florida family, what it do? in building. So look, let's just get right into this. And it is a little bit toasty in here, so I have the fan playing in the back. Let me know if the fan is too loud. And Roger, we got Roger Meadows, my New York family. You're driving right now. Drive safely. Keep your eyes on the road. Shout out to Roger Meadows. Shout out to all of my fam in NY. Where Brooklyn at? You feel me? In building. And I know he's out there in Nassau County. So salute to all my family on the East Coast. I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. So I'm going to react to a video right now by a content creator by the name of Amazing Lucas. So you can find the full video on his channel if you want to watch it uninterrupted. I'll be giving commentary, so I'll have to pause it, rewind it, etc. And I will play it enough so that you get the full context, and I'll rewind it back. So this is a video where he breaks down Don Lemon lying about illegal immigration and criminality. Let's get into it.
Don Lemon is dumb.
Out the gate, I would have to concur. Don Lemon is dumb. Don Lemon is a stooge. Now that he's independent, air quote, people are acting like, oh my God, his content is so riveting. I can't believe Don Lemon said this. Don Lemon is just diet establishment. He's still part of the establishment. He's still linked in with the establishment and the corporate legacy media. He just pretends as if he's independent and calling balls and strikes. But no, he's a shill for the Democrat Party, masquerading as some sort of independent thought leader. Is he good at his job? It depends. He's good when he wants to be, and other times he's very mediocre and lackluster, and he relies on his name and his status more so than his talent. Because you don't need to be extra ultra talented to ask the right questions, which will be revealed in this video that we're about to break down.
Don Lemon is dumb. Oh my goodness. So one thing I despise above all is when people play semantics in.
And also shout out to everyone that's in the storm. I know that Sunlight said it's cold over there in Florida. So bundle up, make sure that you have all of your necessities, and, you know, prayers, thoughts, prayers, and inspiration to everyone that's dealing with the storm. I'm out here in Cali right now. It's 50 degrees and it's mostly sunny. So salute to y'all. Be safe out there. Let's get back into the video.
Efforts to misguide their audiences, or in some cases, just outright lie to them. And that's exactly what Don Lemon is doing. And what makes Don Lemon so heinous is that he's aware of this. There's a difference between Joe Blow, who has a 9-to-5 and he has a whole bunch of responsibilities and other obligations that, you know, happens to have come across a page or a video and is now repeating or regurgitating this misinformation. I understand, right? I understand this is not what you do for a living. I get it. You may get some things wrong. But when you have Don Lemon, who's going out into the public and preying on people's ignorance in order to try and promote a narrative such as asinine as trying to defend illegal immigration, okay? Now, listen, I, including many others, all right, millions of other people, may not agree with how ICE is handling the situation. Absolutely not. Because they're making a spectacle out of people who are less fortunate. In some cases, yes, they're going against criminals, but we've seen before, as I've done videos on it, they're wishy-washy. One second, they're targeting someone who's at a dry cleaner. Another second, they're trying to say, oh, we're arresting a guy who's, accused of child trafficking. And it's like, you know what? I don't believe anything you say. That being said, this is unacceptable when you have Don Lemon going out and just lying to people. Because in this clip, and it's gone viral for a reason, because he looks like a complete jackass. In this clip, you have this Latina woman who's saying that, hey, it's illegal to enter the country illegally. Now, Don Lemon responds to that and says, no, it's not. It's not a criminal act. It's a misdemeanor.
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act. Okay. It's a misdemeanor.
What?
Let's pause right there. This man is a complete...
Y'all heard what Don Lemonade said. It's not a crime. It's a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor means crime. It's a lesser crime, a petty crime. a crime nonetheless. So Don Lemon CNN paid Don Lemon's millions of dollars to give this type of analysis. Why is he lying? Is he just clueless, or is he pushing an agenda? Let's rewind it back and get back into it.
It's not a criminal act. It's a misdemeanor.
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act. It's a
Okay.
misdemeanor.
What?
Let's pause right there. This man is a complete POS. And this is why I say it's dangerous. Because if people were to actually listen to what he's saying and go off of it, this world would be chaos. More chaos than what we already have. This is tantamount to you when the officer pulls you over saying, hey, officer, I'm not breaking the law. I'm just driving without a license. And then the officer responds to you and says, that is breaking the law. And then you retort to what he just told you by saying, no, that's a misdemeanor, okay?
What? What are you talking about?
Do you see how stupid you sound? Do you see how dumb you sound? This is foolishness. This is semantics. That's what he's playing. A criminal act? What does that even mean? What are you talking about, Don Lemon? Yes, it's a criminal act. What do you think a misdemeanor is, fam? And then she follows it up by saying, well, why is this happening if it's not a crime? And he tries, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that this is what's going on and everything.
Okay.
It's a misdemeanor.
So why are they being sent back and saying that they're breaking the law?
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that actually...
We don't.
And once I rewind this back, as you can hear, this seems to be a Latina / Hispanic woman. She still has an accent, but I'm assuming that she's an American citizen who supports ICE. So she's okay with the deportations. Like I said, many people are okay with the deportations. They just want it done in a cute, cutly sanitized manner, like it was done under Obama, who they called the deporter in chief. So here Don Lemon is interviewing a Hispanic woman who supports the deportations and what ICE is doing. And she's saying, yeah, well, they came here illegally. My family came here the right way, so they got to go. And Don Lemon is trying to argue her down and say, no, it wasn't a crime. Yeah, they came here illegally, but crossing the border and coming in through the improper channels, that's not a crime. And she's saying, yes, it is. It's a crime. No, it's a misdemeanor, but misdemeanors are crime. Yeah, but it's not a crime. Like, what the hell is Don Lemon talking about? Let's rewind that back.
By saying, well, why is this happening if it's not a crime? And he tries, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that this is what's going on and everything.
Okay.
It's a misdemeanor.
So why are they being sent back and saying that they're breaking the law?
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that actually...
We don't know if they're breaking the law because they won't tell. There's no due process. Where's the evidence? That's the whole point.
And it's great to see this because this woman is genuine with her line of questioning. Because she's like, well, you know, what's a misdemeanor? Isn't that a crime? Why isn't it like this? And Don Lemon is so smug with it. He's like, listen, we have different levels of crime. And it's like, so that's a crime. Well, no, that's not a crime. This is what you get when you try to deceive people.
Yeah.
So misdemeanor is not
It's
a
not
crime?
a criminal act. No, if you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a criminal
why
act.
get charged at all then, if it's not a criminal act?
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No,
it's just
we
different
have different levels of. No, I shouldn't say crime, but it's not. It's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are.
When have y'all heard Don Lemon stuttering like this? It is a crime. No, it's not a crime. No, it's a misdemeanor, not a crime. But like, come on, bro. Is he trying to beatbox or not? She got him. And this dude is a seasoned journalist, right? For the propaganda mill known as CNN. They paid him millions and millions of dollars for this level of analysis, this level of air quote journalism. Here you have a Latina woman who asked them a simple question. You said that it's not a crime, so why charge them at all? And then here he comes and just starts explaining, stuttering and stammering. Let's rewind that back. Don Lemonade, you should be ashamed of yourself.
When you try to deceive people.
Yeah.
So misdemeanor is not
It's not a criminal act. No, if you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a criminal
why get
act.
charged at all then, if it's not a criminal act?
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No,
it's just
we
different level.
have different levels of. I shouldn't say crime, but it's not. It's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are breaking the law.
You sit on a throne of lies.
That's the funny part. You ever try to deceive someone who's genuinely just inquisitive about what's going on, and you're lying to them? That's what he's trying to do. Well, it's not a crime. It's a misdemeanor. Well, what's a misdemeanor? Well, we had different levels of crime. So then you're saying a misdemeanor is a crime. Well, no, you have to saying it's a law, because that's what he basically what it goes down to is accusing the guy next to her of playing semantics while then saying, well, there's laws and there's, there are rules and everything. And it's just like, what are you doing here, fam? You're a grown ass man, and it's embarrassing. Why lie to people?
But it's not a criminal act.
So it's breaking the law.
No, you're not breaking the law.
The misdemeanor is not breaking the law.
No.
If you're speeding.
Damn, do y'all hear this fool? No, you're not breaking the law. No, it is a crime and it is a misdemeanor. But once you commit a misdemeanor, you're not breaking the law. Every other misdemeanor means you break a law. But somehow, if you enter the country illegally, they're saying, no, that's not a crime. It's just a misdemeanor. What the hell is this dude talking about? Don't worry, I'll rewind it back.
No, you're not breaking the law.
The misdemeanor is not breaking the law.
No.
If you're speeding, drinking, get pulled over, DUI.
That's not a criminal act. Well, no.
I would love for Don Lemonade to answer this. What's a felony? If he's saying a misdemeanor is not a crime, then what is a felony? I don't understand.
DUI.
That's not a criminal act. Well, no, if you're speeding is a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor.
Right.
So it's still breaking the law.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Okay, well, if you want to qualify that, we're doing semantics. But what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to tell you is everything is not the same. It's all not one thing.
But is it the law?
What is it? The law that what?
Is it a law to come over legally? Is there a law?
There are rules processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
No offense, but you are a stupid asshole.
Why die on this hill? It doesn't make any sense, because I would argue most Americans won't agree with how ICE is handling themselves, because they're accosting American citizens, okay?
So they've already taken these alleged studies that said most Americans disagree with how ICE is handling its deportations, but people agree. The majority of people agree with deportations. It's just, as I've said over and over, they want it done in a cute, cuddly, or more sanitized way. All of the people that say open borders, many of them are NIMBYs, not in my backyard. So yeah, flood the country with, open borders. We want to have cheap labor. It will help, kind of mitigate some of the low birth rates, because they can, pump out a bunch of babies. The oligarchs doesn't care who's having the babies. Elon Musk will tell you we need more white babies, and then he'll hire babies that look like Vivek Ramaswamy and Dinesh D'Souza. So they don't really care who has the babies. They just want people to have babies so that they can, power their AI centers and their Tesla factories and sweatshops and stuff. So if Americans aren't having them, they're going to flood the country with people who are willing to have them. And since people have been having a lot of babies due to the birthright citizenship, which Trump is challenging now, many immigrants, especially if you're from an underdeveloped nation, were incentivized to have as many babies and as quick as you possibly can, because now you have an entire football team of American citizens, and people are going to say, hey, you don't want to separate families, and it plays on the heartstrings of people, right? But both part, and people don't mind that happening as long as it's not in their backyard. Y'all saw what happened in Martha's Vineyard. There, all of these bleeding heart liberals, there's plenty of room and resources in Martha's Vineyard. They transported just a handful of migrants over there, and they got them out of there quicker than you can spell the word immigrant. I don't even know if they gave them a bottle of water. I think they gave them like a Capri Sun and sent them on the way. Like, yeah, you can't stay here, can't sit here. They told them, get the hell out of here. dumped them into a poor neighborhood that has no resources. And they say, you know what? We know that you guys need resources. We're telling those N-words to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but we'll give you resources, debit cards and things like that, you know.
So you have a bigger argument with more support than trying to portray that crossing the country illegally is not a crime. Beta. Yes, it is a crime. You doofus. Okay. Yes, it is a crime. Now, when they deport you, you come back. That's a crime as well. Now, if you want to try and argue that you being here in the country without legal status is not a crime, sure. That's where you're correct, okay? That's by all means. But saying that someone's crossing the border illegally, okay, is not a crime is a lie.
Well, shout out to Phyllis. Phyllis answered this question because someone in the chat asked Gorius Maximus, and I would love for other people in the chat to answer this. Should people be deported for other misdemeanors like jaywalking? So they're equating the jaywalking misdemeanor committed by citizens to the misdemeanor of breaking into the country or entering or trespassing, whatever word you want to use, into the country illegally. That's considered a misdemeanor. So there's the comparison. You won't deport a citizen for jaywalking, but is that really a apples to apples comparison of debating deporting a non-citizen who entered the country illegally, or shall we say through improper entry? So back to what Phyllis says, I agree completely with ICE removing illegal aliens. They are criminals because they didn't come here illegally. So yeah, could y'all answer that in the chat? Let me know. Should people be deported? I mean, first of all, if you're an American citizen, there's nowhere to deport you to. I know that they're saying, oh, some citizens have been deported. Could you guys give me a list of 5 citizens that have been deported to an unknown country? I'm not saying that they couldn't or wouldn't do it, but people are fear mongering on something that might happen. But where did it happen? Name the U.S. citizen that's been deported to an unknown country. I want to highlight that, right? Because that will speak to the dystopian feudalistic society that we're already in. So if anyone could have those names. Crossing the street and not a designated crosswalk is a crime. Same. So let's get back into the video.
And then say, play these semantics of misdemeanor and everything. That is foolishness. You are going to get people harmed. Not only are you going to get people harmed, but you're disseminating misinformation. This isn't even misinformation. You're just lying to people because Don Lemon knows better. He knows what he is saying is fraudulent. And this is disgusting. And then, you know what? We don't need people like this, bruh. I would argue that the left does not need people like Don Lemon doing such heinous activities as lying to people who don't know any better, to the general public, and you're just lying to them. Hey, it's not a criminal act when you know damn well it is. This makes no sense. And I'm glad that he's being.
Esteban Tiznado Reyna deported despite a 2008 not guilty verdict for illegal re-entry and later of proof of citizenship. So was this person an American, a naturalized citizen, an undocumented immigrant, a person seeking asylum, a refugee? Who is Esteban Tiznado Reyna? Who is this person?
For. I'm glad that he's being ridiculed for, because that's what you get. This is exactly what should happen, whether it's Trump, whether it's his administration, whoever it is. When you just lied to people, this is tantamount to when they were talking about, oh, January 6th is a tourist attraction. That's what it was. What do you mean? This is tantamount when Trump is talking about we got to stop the drugs, and he's pardoning every Joe Schmo who's corrupt. Okay, he's pardoning drug dealers. He's pardoning traffickers. He's pardoning everyone while at the same time talking.
So shout out to Eccentric. 1000%. I'm Irish Catholic from Philly. We're born into the Democratic Party. Yeah, they kind of baptize you into the Democratic Party. Trust me. I know how it is. Try living in the deep South, in a black church. But But stuff like Don Lemon does and all the other crazy things that Democrats have been doing, I didn't leave them, they left me. So could you name 3 of the things that the Democrats done that have you leave the party? Because sometimes people will say the Democrats were woke. Okay, that's just very broad and nebulous. What exactly did they do or say that had you leave the party? I'm an independent, so I don't support either party. However, if either party is putting forward tangible legislation that helps uplift, enrich, and enfranchise my community, but also the entire country, because I am an America First person, that's who I will support, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian. People are too married to these parties more so than the policy. They're not pushing even for policy. They're pushing for personality. It's turning into WWE, WWF, where they look into this character, whichever political villain or, the someone masquerading as a political hero. People seem to like the character and get dug into these characters, but these characters are not operating for you. Both parties are the same. 2 fangs on the same viper, 2 cheeks on the same booty. Imagine the Warriors and the Lakers, right? They're rivals in the NBA, but they're not going to go against the NBA because the NBA is the establishment. Republicans, Democrats, they're not going to go against the establishment. They may have political banter online, rhetoric, rhetorically towards each other. But then when you look at all these wine caves and these swanky dinners, they're over there yucking it up with each other. You're not there. They're talking about how to displace you, replace you, and disenfranchise you. And then they still have you talking about BLM and George Floyd. The reason why you can't afford a home is not because of George Floyd. Gas prices, that's not because of George Floyd. People are sharing old fight videos of black people and saying that this is the reason why I can't get ahead, because black fatigue. Is like, dude, you don't even live next to black people. But this is the brain rot that both parties push. The Democrats are saying they're racist, while the Democrats are even more racist than the Republicans. The Republicans are racist, but the Democrats are more racist because they pretend that they're not, and then they agree with all of the racist stuff that the Republicans do. They agree with what ICE is doing. Even right now, Democrats, outside of some fringe groups, they're not calling to end qualified immunity for ICE. All they're saying is that the orange man bad, the Cheeto is bad. So all they want to do is get in power, open up the border again, and then say, ICE, deport people, but do it more humanely. Give them a cookie when you deport them and pat them on the back. That's all they want.
Oh, we got to get into Mexico. You people are disgusting, and you make this country a worse place.
Damn.
There is nothing wrong.
Lemon isn't the issue. Pedo Trump is. And I would concur. Lemon isn't the issue. I'm just pointing out because many people believe him. He has a massive following. And what I'm saying is, I'm a person who's never been on CNN, will never be on CNN, and I can give a better analysis, a more astute and a more accurate and authentic analysis than Don Lemon can. But he's going to have a massive following, people donating to him, propping him up as if he's some sort of savior. But no, he's a corporate and political buck-broken stooge. And pedo Trump, yeah, they say guilty by association. So if Trump was associated and colluding and coddling up with pedos, then what would that make him, right? If they see a black dude and he's hanging around gang members, what are they going to label him? He's a gang member. Nah, my friends is in a gang. I'm just hanging with him. Nope. Guilty by association. So Trump hanging with pedos, but somehow he's not a pedo. No. He's making America great again. No, he's making America desensitized to pedo activities, which is grotesque and disgusting.
Wrong with as far as lambasting the spectacle that ICE is making out of these detainments, out of these arrests, out of these deportations. But you can do that without lying to people, bruh. Without just lying to people and talking about, well, it's not a criminal act, it's a misdemeanor. And then you're just completely unraveling to now where you look like just a complete ass. That's what he looked like. Anyways.
How could you refute what I just said? Trump has been colluding with known pedos. Jeffrey Epstein was his good boy. Trump, and it's not just Trump, the Democrats too. They've seen the files, right? So they know what names are in there. So why won't he call out names? He's quick to call out Obama. He's quick to call this person fat. He's quick to call out Clinton's, lock her up. Remember that chant, lock her up, lock her up. Where's the chant for the pedos? Lock them up, lock them up. Where's the chant? He has the names, right? Oh, we're trying to protect the victims. Okay, redact the victims' names and tell me who are the perpetrators and tell me which people violated those victims. Start stuttering and stammering and silent. Here, look, don't forget about the Quality Learning Center and the Somalis. Don't forget BLM. It's 2026, but we have to keep milking the BLM George Floyd story. It's like, what the hell does that have to do with the Epstein files? So yeah, you think Trump isn't a pedo? If a dude is hanging with gang members, they gonna call him a gang member. If Trump is over here schmoozing with pedos, then what is he? What is he? Okay, fine. Don't call him a pedo. Call him a pedo sympathizer. Does that make it any better? He's not a pedo. He's just a friend to the pedos. Doesn't make any sense, bro.
Guys, that's a video. There is no either or here, bro. He's just lying. Unless you are in favor of people lying to other individuals, which I would hope you aren't. And if you are, leave the channel. But this is unreasonable. This is unjustifiable. This is foolishness. And all you do is harm your position. That's all you do. You make yourself and the position you hold just guilt by association. So that if anyone else were to say,
so when you say the Democrats went too far left and became far right evil, what did the Democrats do? Could you name 3 policies that they went too far left on? Because much of what people are talking about is really rhetorical. They'll talk about drag book shows, and in many of their schools, no drag book shows are going on. So I get it, it's a friend's issue. They'll talk about trans bathrooms, and then you look at most of the schools and their counties, cities, and state, and they're not even proposing or thinking that. So could you actually name? Because people have these nebulous, dude, the Democrats were woke. The Democrats were practicing CRT. Is like, how and where? Could you show me the legislation? And people could never, show the legislations. It's just always buzzwords. And let's just say that the Democrats did go far left. Are you advocating for the Republicans to go further right? The Democrats went far left, so now we have to swing the country far right to balance it. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So what exactly are you advocating for? Less health care, more police funding, an even greater police state? What exactly are you even advocating for?
Hey, I don't agree with what ICE is doing. Now they're already going to dismiss you because they just had Don Lemon lie to them about what is illegal and what's a crime. Anyways, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me. Thursday through Saturday, Disagreement Day. Number on screen, you call in, we duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free.
Okay, so that was that video. I'm going to be transitioning into the other video, which is how MAGA is willing to pivot and almost buck break themselves, spread cheeks, and give up their rights just to bootlick for Trump. Kind of odd, but it would be befitting, which is why I call many of them MAGA maniacs. Not all, but many of them, a significant portion. And some dumb says they all paid by the same peeps. They are not some secret cabal. It's on the golf course. Yeah, this is why I say both parties are the same, because they're beholden to the same donors. It's like the Warriors versus the Lakers. They're beholden to the governance of the NBA, which is the establishment. All of these people support the establishment. That's where they get their bread and butter. They're not going to do anything to subvert or dismantle that. So it isn't Trump that got you here. Trump's trying to bring it back. Real jobs, removing illegals. Obama deported 3 million. But what has Trump done? Trump on one hand said he's going to deport the illegals, but there's no mass deportations going on. As much as he craps on Obama, Obama had greater numbers. What jobs has Trump brought back? He's over here saying that we need 600,000 Chinese people. I thought the Chinese people were our enemy. Now we need 600,000 Chinese students. So yeah, Trump is all over the place. He does whatever his handlers tell him. Y'all see whenever BB Satan Yahoo comes over here, he bends over, spread cheeks, and licks the boot. Is this make America great again, or is this MAGA? Is this MAGA or MAGA? Make America great again, or making Israel great again? I would lean towards the MAGA more so than the MAGA. Who voted for that? Is that what y'all voted for? No universal health care, no living wage, no reparations, etc. Lost me. Yeah, no, they give reparations. It's just not to the foundational Black American freedmen. Ashley Babbitt got reparations. There's a bunch of Jewish people getting hundreds of millions because, you know, people said globalize the intifada and people said from the river to the sea. So that made that some Jewish people felt that they were victims because people said that. And Trump said, you know what, that's anti-Semitic, and gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. Kathy Hochul in New York, she said, you know, they brought up the Holocaust. And this was just last year. So they tell certain groups, stop begging the government for reparations. And then other groups, they just, here's reparations. Biden was trying to give reparations to the migrants, saying, because Trump was mean to you and said, you know, we want to build the wall. He wanted to give migrants reparations for alleged separated families. So people support reparations. It's just they don't support them for the people who is actually owed to. But I'm going to transition into this other video. And before I do that, I definitely want to hit y'all with some scholarship. I told y'all I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. So let me go ahead and pull this up and let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. And let me know if y'all have any issues seeing this. I can make it even bigger if I need to. Just give me uno momento. I'll click it up one more notch. So many people want us to be out here caping. You know, they want us caping hard for immigration. But let's just go through this executive summary of why it really doesn't help us. So just for one right here, and this is what a lot of the white people are complaining about, saying, you know, white jobs and we need white babies and we're being discriminated against. Okay, let's go through the facts. FBA workers, foundational Black American freedmen, particularly those without college degrees, face direct competition with immigrant labor in sectors where they're overrepresenting, leading to wage suppression and job displacement. And then people saying, well, why won't you just compete, bro? Like, so you're saying that American citizens should have to compete with the entire globe and people who are not U.S. citizens. You're saying that U.S. citizens shouldn't get preferential treatment. We should treat everyone from across the globe as the same. You know, that's almost like treating every woman the same as your wife. Your wife shouldn't get any preferential treatment. Just because I'm married to you, why are you trying to act better than these other women out there? That wouldn't make any sense. But somehow it's supposed to make sense for us to have people come in and directly compete with us, people who don't have a long history of fighting for this country. Many of these people are not even here to really represent for this country. Many of these people come over here to be transplants. So they come over here to turn America into whatever it was back home. So they want to speak the language. They want to change it culturally, which America has been open towards that, right? But who gets the brunt of that? People are open with that because it's always at the expense of us. Now, when it starts being at the expense of white people in the dominant society or even other groups, then people want to complain, but this has always happened to us. So wage suppression. Immigration has contributed to wage stagnation in low-skill sectors where FBA workers are concentrated with measurable wage depression between 3 to 8% in affected industries, right? Whatever you're paying right now, if they said, we're going to pay you 8% less, it's usually more than that, but this is on average, right? So it's not about is someone willing to work harder, because like I said, we're already overrepresented in these sectors. So when they said they're doing the job no one wants to do, that's a lie. People are already doing the jobs. They're willing to come over here, and because they're more desperate and they're willing to work under the table for lower wages, people are championing that on. You know what I mean? Who's gonna pick the fruit? The people who's been picking the fruit before they even came here. Then they'll take and transport a bunch of, people who came here illegally, drop them in Chicago. Who's gonna pick the fruit? There's not a lot of fruit being picked in Chicago. There's no fruit being picked in Chicago. So why are tens of thousands of people being dropped there? They're dropping them in every area, saying they're doing the jobs that no one wants to do when people have been doing the jobs. And why don't they ever go after these employers for knowingly hiring these people illegally? Let's just say that they did come here illegally, right? And then they did, okay, fine, that was a misdemeanor. But then many of them have illegal documentation. So you came here illegally, and fine, we sweep that under the rug. That's a misdemeanor. You get illegal documentation. That's another crime. You're driving around with fake documentation. That's a crime. So how many crimes are we supposed to sweep under the rug? Someone entering an entire different country than theirs, we're supposed to sweep that under the rug. But if some black dude is selling, a quarter eighth of weed just to feed his family, to get some extra money, to pay the light bill or to put food on his table, we should demonize them. Now it's a bunch of non-black people, mainly white people, selling metric tons of weed, locking people up for a scintilla of what they're selling. You know what I mean? There's no sympathy, right? If you're selling a little bit of some on the side, just to make ends meet, so what? You're a criminal, lock them up, But then if someone comes and enters the country illegally, puts their family at risk, crossing through the Rio Grande where they can drown, knowing that they're about to commit a crime, it's like, oh, well, he did it for his family. Yeah, so did this dude that was selling weed. Like, no one was being forced to buy weed. Weed was not destroying people's communities, but over policing people for weed, that destroyed people's communities, right? But no one cares about that, So let's just go to the resource dilution. Public resources and social programs that FBA communities fought for and depend on are increasingly allocated to immigrant populations without corresponding expansion of services. So when they come over here, many of them are able to double dip, especially if you're African or Caribbean. They can dip into the African American black pot, and then they can also say, yeah, but I'm an immigrant, so they can dip into the things that are specialized and isolated just for immigrants. Certain places like Maine, they were giving immigrants like 2 years free rent in a furnished apartment, so they can get their life started. Meanwhile, they're telling the citizens to pull themselves up by the bootstrap. In New York, they were handing out debit cards and saying it's cheaper for us to hand out these debit cards for them that had upwards of $1,000 a month, rather than, they were just making excuses. In Chicago and Illinois, they gave them $9,000 for rental assistance and furnishing. Don't take my word for it. Look all this stuff up. Right? If y'all think I'm just babbling and blathering, what is he talking about? Go ahead and look all this stuff up. Now, tell me one time that the government has gave you $9,000. I've never even got $5,000 from the government. They telling us to stop begging. Meanwhile, people come from other countries, either undeveloped, or some of these people are wealthy, come over, take advantage of the welfare system that was designed for white women, but we fought for it so it can be equalized amongst the society. They're using it at a disproportionate rate. And then they're telling black people like, y'all need to stop begging. Every group comes over here and the first thing that they do is beg the government. Even rich people like Elon Musk. Elon Musk, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And then what does he do? Always begging both administrations to get billions and billions and billions of handouts. You can't even ask the government for nothing. But Elon Musk is begging the government for billions. Okay. Political displacement. In cities with high immigration, FBA political power has decreased as demographic changes shift. See, there's no people of color coalition. These people don't even consider themselves people of color. They only use that to tether towards our cultural achievements and accomplishments and say, hey, we're just like them. Our struggle is just like the blacks, even though we fought to be white, even though many of us are still right now socially and legally classified as white. So where's the color, right? Doesn't even make any sense. And there's no coalition of them trying to fight and share our interests. So if they come over here and let it be known that our interests don't align, why are we pretending as if there's this coalition that we're fighting to change things? No, if we go out there and fight, all we're doing is fighting for their cause so they can continue and to further cement our displacement. That's all it's about. There's no minority, marginalized group, overlooked group coalition. Unfortunately, we're on our own. There may be individual allies, but collectively, no. When you start talking about how to help the Black American community, specifically the foundational Black Americans, the people who are not immigrants, when you start talking about helping them, everyone has something to say, but they don't mind helping people. Guamanian people got reparations from the U.S. government. Is this Guam? Armenian people got reparations. Is this Armenia? Jewish people, we help facilitate Jewish reparations. Is this Nazi Germany? Every group gets reparations, but with us, it's like, no, you were never a slave and all this other weak arguments. It's like, dude, you're an immigrant. You know what I mean? Your people came over here after the country was already built. Always say they were fleeing famine, filth, feudalism, and failure. The majority of them come from peasant lineage. You were failing, and that's why you had to come over here where people made a way. There were racial quotas. They didn't consider the Italians and Irish white. People of my lineage had to fight to make it so, to equalize things. And all of those groups that we fought to protect, they turned around and called us niggers. You know what I mean? So that's why, I mean, 'tis the season to hold your own nuts, you know. Housing competition. Immigration has contributed to housing cost increases. How is this helping us, right? Also, when they gentrify a Black neighborhood, look at Oakland. Oakland in the 90s was 47% Black. Now it's 17% Black. How does that help us? And it's mainly due to illegal, undocumented immigration, right? And the white people don't care because they don't live next to us. So they're like, yeah, you know, we want to go down there and eat tacos, you know what I mean? But Americans can make their own tacos, right? Historical precedent. This is not the first time FBA communities have been negatively impacted by immigration policy. So, you know, this analysis, and this is the disclaimer, right? Because I know people like to say we're a nation of immigrants, and they don't even really clearly know what that means, but let's just go with that. So this analysis does not advocate hatred or discrimination against immigrants. Rather, it examines policy impacts through the lens of FBA communities, specific historical positions, and ongoing struggles for economic justice and equality. Both FBA communities and immigrant communities can be simultaneously disadvantaged by policy choices that serve corporate and elite interests. And I know many of these immigrants are just a cog in the wheel. You know, they're being kind of puppeteered, and many of them, you know, don't really know that they're being weaponized, and many of them do. So some are, you know, naive, and then there are many of them who come over here with the intention of displacing and replacing us. And I say, hey, if that's what you want to do, just say it with your chest. Stop pretending to be an ally, talking about black and brown and we're all the same, and then you're working behind the scenes to displace us. So before I get into the next video, you know, let's just say, you know, when they always try to compare us to immigrants and say, look, it's the same. ISIS like the Gestapo. This is the same as slave catchers. No, it's actually not. So foundational Black Americans occupy a unique position in American society. And, you know, some people get mad. At one point, they want to ridicule and hector us about it. And then other times it's almost as if they're jealous. You know, they want the history, but not have went through the pain. It's extremely delusional. All right. One, involuntary arrival, right? These other groups, that's the whole point, where there's no definition that you can call us immigrants. You can say 100% of us came from Africa, which is not true. But let's just grant that a thought experience. Let's just say hypothetically, 100% of us came from there. If we were forcibly transported, kidnapped, there were hostage taking, that's involuntary. There's no definition that you can find, whether it's Oxford, Webster's, X, Chat GPT. There's no definition that will say that that's immigration. Immigration inherently involves a voluntary choice. So even if people come over here and get mistreated, which is unfortunate, and I don't support that, you made the voluntary choice to come over here. There was no gun to your head forcing you to come over here, unlike the foundational Black American freedmen. Involuntary arrival, unlike all other groups, FBA ancestors were brought involuntarily. Chattel slavery, 246 years of unpaid labor building the American wealth. It wasn't just cotton, but let's just go with cotton. There was a reason why they said cotton is king, right? It was tobacco, rice, and all sorts of other industries. Even always like to bring up the railroad. When people say who built the railroads, before you can finish the question, people, but Chinese built the railroad. No, they didn't. Chinese people built the least amount of the railroad, yet they get the most credit. Don't take my word for it. Look this up. Chinese people built less than 700 miles of railroad, which I'm not saying that to diminish it. I'm saying this to contextualize what I'm about to say. And they should be commemorated, and celebrating for what they built. However, foundational Black American freedmen built up to 9,000 miles of railroad. What is a bigger number? Y'all tell me, 700 or 9,000? We built up to 9,000 miles. And not only that, it was many indentured servants that they even built more than the Chinese, whether it be Italian, Irish. They built close to about 1,300 miles of railroad. So the Chinese people built the least amount of railroad, but somehow they get the most credit. And do you hear Chinese people saying, yeah, look, man, we built a lot, but we really got to give props to the, the foundational Black American freedmen. What they built, that was amazing. Instead, they just run with the lie. Yeah, we built the railroads. Yeah, y'all built a lot of the railroad on the West Coast. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. 700 miles versus 9,000. Yet we don't get any credit for it. Systematic exclusion. Like I'm just saying, how they try to exclude us out of history, which Trump is doing, and the Democrat Party is letting him do it, because they're too focused on trans issues and immigrants. 155 years of legal and extra legal oppression post-slavery. No other group could deal with this stuff, right? If somebody calls them an illegal alien, people start crying. Oh my God, how could you use that dehumanizing language? So they don't care if you get called a nigger, like, oh, well, I mean, kind of is what it is, right? But if someone gets called an illegal alien, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever heard, No compensation, never received the promised reparations or compensation. So even the biggest at the time said, yeah, we do got to give them something. And they did sign to give reparations. It's just they reneged on it. So they understand reparations. They agreed with it at the time. It's just the bigoted, brain dead, buffoons came in and reversed it. Ongoing discrimination. So when they saying y'all gonna be next, no, we are now. It never stopped. When did the discrimination stop? All the y'all gonna be next people, their community discriminates against us too. So we continue to face systemic racism across all institutions. And this is facts. You don't have to take my word for it. Use Claude AI, use Chat GPT, Microsoft Copilot, Grok, whatever source you want to use. Or here's a thought. You can go to the library and read this and fact check me and try to debunk me. However, your efforts will be futile. So let's just get into the next story. I just want to give y'all, some scholarship right there. Because many people act like, oh yeah, we just can't figure out, why they're not crashing out for illegal immigration. It's like, yeah, because it doesn't help us. Legal immigration or illegal helps us. So let's pull up the next video. So is MAGA really selling themselves out? You know, because they're pivoting on the Second Amendment as it comes to the Preddy shooting. So let's get into this next video. This is a video from Valhalla Firearms Training. So y'all can find this video to watch it uninterrupted on that channel. Let's get into it. And it's titled MAGA Pivots on the 2A.
What's your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence.
But he brought a gun. He brought a gun. Have you ever gone to a protest, Jonathan? I mean, we do have a Second Amendment in this country.
Oh, well, look at that. That's the director of the FBI for the Trump administration telling you as an American, you're not legally allowed to have a firearm on you down on the corner of a random street in America. Did you guys know that? Did you?
And I want to give a shout out to none other than Big Rig Slaps, Ronnie Q, what it do in building.
You guys know that was a crime? Crazy to me. I thought we had the Second Amendment. Apparently, the Second Amendment is about to go away under the Trump administration.
If you got to ask this question, you're clearly misinformed. Musk is always begging for billions. Most of his companies are built on subsidies. Subsidies are goodies, giveaways, and guarantees to the big wig corporations. He's telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, yet he's going to the government. He says he wants small government, right? But every time he needs a project funded, he goes to the government. So, like, where have you been, bro? What rock have you been under? And how is Musk becoming a trillionaire? How is that helping the white community at all? It helps Elon Musk, but how does that help you? You meat writing for Musk. How, like, what does that really do for you? Hey, this comment might be kind of goated. Shout out to Timothy Bryant. MAGA stupidity has no limits. I must concur.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and we are going to continue talking about the biggest story in America right now, a follow-up of the last video of sorts, because there's been a lot of new information, camera angles that have come out since this event took place in Minneapolis, and I gotta say, the more information that comes out, the worse and worse and worse it looks for ICE and Border Patrol. Yeah, it's not good, but even crazier than the event is actually the reaction from MAGA and the Second Amendment community. Yes, bizarrely, 2026, it turns out that MAGA is now the anti-Second Amendment party. Yes, they've joined forces with Beto O'Rourke and AOC, and the new ideology, and we're going to look at the clips that's come out from MAGA, is if you carry a loaded weapon anywhere in America, you deserve to be shot in the face for it. Don't know how we got here, but we're here. So that's what we're going to talk about in the video today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Let's jump into it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to review some of the new footage and actually really break down the entire thing here before we get into what the official...
So this person, Siamese Stormtrooper, I get what you're trying to say, but someone cue the tiny violin. One great way to help Black people, if you're not Black, then, you know, your advice is going to fall on deaf ears, you know, because usually people that try to give advice to help Black people, they don't give a flying fig about Black people. It's just you want to try to interject your advice and opinion that no one is asking for. You should try to help your community first, because I doubt that you're a Black person, especially with comments like this. Is to start identifying as just plain, everyday, normal Americans and not inventing new political labels every 2 minutes. You know, America is for Americans, not Americans and a bunch of hyphen Americans. I get this, and I wish I had the tiny violin to cue right now. I don't, but I probably will have it on next stream. Go tell this to the Nick Fuentes and the Tucker Carlsons and all of the people that want these all white towns and the people who are heritage Americans. Go preach this to them. These are the people in power, the people that have the most prominence, the most wealth and influence. So people will try to say, we're all Americans. This is the whole, I don't see color. We live in a colorblind society. Why are you calling yourself Black Americans and African American? You're just American. And then we say, you know what? We are just Americans. And then, you know, you go to the golf course and then they call you nigger. Like, I thought we were all Americans, right? You niggers, this, go back to Africa, sub-Saharan niggers. And it's like, but I thought we were all Americans. So why you keep bringing up Africa, right? So yeah, bro, Siamese trooper, you need to go kind of preach this to your community. Start with the heritage Americans. Start with them.
Statements from the government, Kash Patel, Kristi Noem, etc., want Americans to know that you no longer have the constitutional right to carry, and you deserve to be fucking killed for it if you do. Yes, this is their words, not mine. So first things first, let's see what Kristi Noem had to say about this event.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
This might be some merch right here, Renee. Yeah, because I know people, we're a nation of laws. I think this is more appropriate. We're a nation of taxpayers, and we're definitely overtaxed and underrepresented.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Okay, so got it. Yes. Alex Preddy, 37-year-old ICU nurse for the VA with zero criminal record and a license to conceal carry his weapon, rushed police officers with his weapon out, ready to shoot them, and when they tried to disarm him, he violently attacked the officers. Okay, let's roll the footage back. All right, so let's look at the altercation from the very beginning to the end, because according to Kristi Noem, Alex rushed officers with his weapon out, attempting to murder people. Altercation starts with an ICE officer running up and shoving a woman. Yes, here's Alex here as he has his arm around this woman that was just shoved down in the street, obviously, viciously trying.
And shout out to Fire. She says Obama pinned a deportation medal on Tom Homan, and the left has zero spine. Yeah, both parties are the same. I don't know why people are acting like the Democrats are going super far left. You notice Fire, shout out to Fire and all my Oregon family, right? They can never say what the Democrats did that was too far left. They keep bringing up, they are woke. They want trans people to participate in sports. It's like, okay, did your daughter or your son compete against a trans person? No, but that's what the Democrats want. They just start sounding like a little petulant, bratty child. What the flying flip are you whining about? I get it, right? Both parties, for me, both parties suck, right? But what specific legislations did the Democrats push forward that you're whining about? Defund the police. Biden went up there and said he wanted to refund the police, right? You're mad because someone had a bumper sticker that said defund the police when no police have been defunded. So you're saying, you say you want small government, but somehow you want the police who are part of the government to have more militarized weapon because you think they're going to turn it on BLM and George Floyd. George Floyd is dead. So now who are they going to turn it on? You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous and pathetic what MAGA has, devolved to.
Altercation starts with an ICE officer running up and shoving a woman. Yes, here's Alex here as he has his arm around this woman that was just shoved down in the street, obviously, viciously trying to attack these officers. All right, Alex now attempts to step in and protect the second woman who's about to be shoved to the ground in the street. There you go. He tries to help this woman. He's immediately pepper sprayed in the face as he then continues to try to protect these two women. So yes, I'm not sure I'm saying the violent aggressor so far. He is now on the ground in essentially the fetal position, trying to protect his face as he's being pistol whipped by this officer here.
And Tracy, the bigoted bet, says, if you want reparations, get them from the African tribes that captured, enslaved them, and sold the slaves. Yeah. So your people, which clearly you're an immigrant, you know, you were part of the peasant class that was fleeing famine, filth, feudalism, and failure. Your people were failing in your homeland. You didn't build anything. That's why you had to immigrate here. So you come from a lineage of peasants. So let's just start there to contextualize this. Not only that, U.S. chattel slavery. This isn't about Africa. This is about U.S. chattel slavery. There was no gun to their head forcing them to buy slaves. Just like right now, if you go to China and you know, human traffic someone from China and you bring them here, it's not about what the Chinese people sold them. It's like, why did you buy them? You weren't forced to enslave people. You weren't forced to buy them. And not only that, you weren't forced to codify it in law and make it race-based, because they had indentured servitude where you can serve. And then the Irish people, we were slaves too. No, you weren't. You were indentured servants, and they gave a contract, and after they were paid freedom dues. So they got reparations afterwards. And not only that, the Irish or whatever other indentured servants, when they had kids, their kids weren't enslaved. Black people in U.S., this is why it's called U.S. chattel slavery, not African chattel slavery. Doesn't really matter where they got them from. The majority of those people didn't even come from Africa. They were breeding people here like cattle, right? So once you start breeding people here, because it became more lucrative and advantageous to have slave breeding farms, you can't start blaming it on Africa. You're breeding the people here. That's not about Africa. That's about what you chose to do here, what you codified in law here, what you put in your doctrines here. So take some responsibility. You people always love to try to say, oh, the blacks need to take accountability. Like, where's the accountability here, right? No one was forced to enslave people.
Now, this becomes very important. What we've learned since is that he was completely disarmed of his weapon well before anyone ever laced off shots. As we watch this Border Patrol officer here in the gray jacket, I want you to notice something that I've seen. I don't think anybody else has seen yet here in this clip. Let's watch this. Watch.
Siamese trooper, I noticed that you're not really saying where you're from, and clearly you're scared to even put a picture of your face. So it's always like these faceless accounts that try to give the most advice, right? So how could anyone take what you have to say seriously? Like, at least the Tracy Betts, you know, looks like a bigoted buffoon, but at least Tracy Betts is showing a picture. Siamese stormtrooper, you have this picture, yet you have all of this advice to give. Clearly you're a non-black person, so why are you so obsessed with us, right? If we're all Americans, it shouldn't really matter. If we say that we're foundational black, we're all Americans, right? You want us to just say American just to suit your need and lump us all into one just global American, right? We'll start with the heritage Americans, right? They're the ones in power. You are the type of people that say you guys are low IQ, right? You guys don't organize and you don't have any power. So go talk to the people in power. Those are the heritage Americans, the Mayflower people, right? The America Firsters. Go tell them to stop hyphening people, right? So yeah, you're kind of like, what you're saying is just kind of incoherently rambling right now, bro.
As this comes out right here. Onto the ground. See that? You see this? That is a SIG pistol magazine. So what that means is they've already identified the weapon, because it would be with his holster. They're now yanking his mag, and his weapon, the guy in the gray jacket here, has now pulled his weapon out of his holster, which means.
So now, Tracy Betts, not only are you a bigot, you're definitely a liar. People say this all the time, that Chinese people built the railroads. Just because you personally haven't heard of Chinese, there's a lot of Chinese things that you haven't heard them say, doesn't mean that they don't say it. And really, it's mainly people in your community, is mainly people that look like you, bigoted people like you, that are typically lying. So now that you've never heard a Chinese man say they built a road, have you ever heard that the people who built the most road were foundational Black American freedmen? Have you heard that? And you can't refute that. So instead of addressing the fact that I laid out, you say, well, I've never heard a Chinese man say that. That's anecdotal. What I said was factual, not anecdotal.
I don't think anybody else has seen yet here in this clip. Let's watch this. Watch as this comes out right here onto the ground.
Siamese, I might have to time you out because you just are kind of rambling. Literally, no one said anything about oppression when someone is identifying a lineage. And if that lineage is associated with oppression, then it just is what it is. We can't erase the history and try to act like oppression didn't go on. People from the dominant society always talk about conquering. Okay, let's say what you did in that conquering. You raped, pillaged, and plundered. So that means you oppress someone on your journey to conquering. You can't then say, why are you acting oppressed? Why are you beating your chest for conquering someone? Okay, fine. You should, you want to be celebrated and commemorated for conquering. That conquering included raping, pillaging, plundering, violently murdering people. Let's just tell it all. Like, don't act oppressed by the truth. Now it's you that's acting like a victim. We tell the truth of what your people did, and then you whine, oh, your identity is oppressed. No, your identity is delusional and egotistical, right? You want to say that you conquered. Let's say what you did when you allegedly conquered. And you're not part of that conquering lineage. You won't even show your face. Many people that talk like this come from a peasant lineage, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just stop acting like, that you had you're not a heritage American, right? You're definitely not a Mayflower descendant. You're an immigrant, bro. So you should be focusing on your homeland and your cultural enrichment, more so trying to tell Black people what they need to do. But since you want us to be all generic Americans, start with the heritage Americans. Go talk to Nick Fuentes and his crowd. Go talk to Tucker Carlson, Benny the Bigot Johnson, Tim Pool. Go talk to them and see how far you get with this, rambling blather.
See that? You see this? That is a Sig pistol magazine. So what that means is they've already identified the weapon because it would be with his holster. They're now yanking his mag, and his weapon, the guy in the gray jacket here, has now pulled his weapon out of his holster, which means Alex never brandished his weapon, never pulled his weapon out of his holster if it's being pulled out by officers. You can see here, there's the gun. He's been disarmed of his magazines and his weapon. 7 officers on top of him, which means he poses no threat to anyone.
So he's been disarmed, multiple officers on top of him, and he's already been impaired by them spraying him with a chemical agent. And here we have these MAGA maniacs saying, why didn't he just comply? He is complying. He's resisting. How is he resisting? Because maybe his eye was burning and he was kind of wiggling or something like that. Like they want him to just lay still like a statue, play dead. And why would these people fear for their lives? Multiple agents are pinning him down, and one of the officers has already taken his firearm to run away with it. If you're scared, go to church. Is this just a bunch of fragile, pathetic, weak, moist individuals that are just so petrified of a man who's already been subdued? How cowardly could you be?
His weapon out of his holster, which means Alex never brandished his weapon, never pulled his weapon out of his holster if it's being pulled out by officers. You can see here, there's the gun. He's been disarmed of his magazines and his weapon. 7 officers on top of him, which means he poses no threat to anyone at this point. Simply being detained. So, absolutely horrific. But what do we know? Because we have eyeballs, right? We can all watch it together.
Yeah, no one likes to talk about this. Like MLK said, telling Black folks with no boost to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. What a joke. How much free land was given to white European immigrants? Not only that, poor white peasant immigrants who was fleeing famine, filth, feudalism, and failure, right? Look up the Homestead Act. That's just one, So Even with the whole give us your sick, tired, and poor. So you're saying that they were sick, tired, and poor. They were failing, right? And instead, they didn't tell them to pull themselves up by their bootstrap. They gave them millions and millions of acres. Meanwhile, say you niggas ain't getting anything. Stop begging. Every immigrant groups comes over, and the first thing that they do is go to the government to get some sort of handout, goodie, giveaway, guarantee, or grant. And the government is willing to do that because they want to push the minority myth. It's just those niggas, they are the bane of society, even though they're willing to give other groups a head start that they won't give us. And then they'll say, don't beg the government, while they're actively signing checks with the government rubber stamp on it. It's extremely pathetic and hypocritical, but you know, it's our reality. Always has been.
Is that no, this person was not a violent aggressor out on the street attacking law enforcement officers. He's standing there with his camera out, as the aggressors in this situation are Border Patrol, who run up and shove both of those women to the ground in front of him. And he was guilty of just
Nobody is talking about how violent Border Patrol is, how cowardly. It's funny, right? They fear for their life. When it's a man that's subdued on the ground with multiple knees in his back, they disarm him and spray him with a chemical agent. They feared for their life. Meanwhile, they're running up to women and pushing them. So they didn't fear for their life to push the women. That's some hoe shit. Just call it what it is. The BPA, the border pussy, the border pussy agencies, the border pussy agencies, agents, because that's some pussy shit right there. You're afraid of a man that you have on the ground. I fear for my life. The women, oh yeah, here, let's go push him. And this is supposed to be the high IQ warrior class.
absolutely horrific. But what do we know? Because we have eyeballs, right? We can all watch it together. Is that no, this person was not a violent aggressor out on the street attacking law enforcement officers. He's standing there with his camera out, as the aggressors in this situation are Border Patrol, who run up and shove both of those women to the ground in front of him. And he was guilty of just essentially trying to protect two women in the street. Also, we now know, no, he didn't try to go for his weapon. He didn't try to.
I'll admit Heritage American is dumb too. The only reason it came around though was because liberals began using American to mean anyone existing within US borders. That's pretty much what you're doing. You're all over the place. You're saying drop the hyphen, we're all American, and then now you're contradicting yourself saying, well, the liberals said that we were all American. Isn't that what you're saying? That we're all American, so drop the hyphen. You agree with the liberals, so change your name to Siamese Lib Trooper. Right? And if you think Heritage American is dumb, go in their spaces and preach to them. See how that goes for you.
To kill law enforcement officers. He was disarmed before he ever touched his weapon, and then he was shot about 15 times after he was already disarmed. So what you would expect from this situation, from MAGA, from the conservative movement, from the Second Amendment community, from the NRA, is what you would expect is you would see a massive backlash against the federal government.
And shout out to Lemmy. Elites aren't party loyal. No, that's why Trump was a Democrat and now he's a Republican president serving his second term. Elon was a staunch Democrat and now he's act like he's a Republican, but no, he's not. He just goes whatever the wind blows because both parties are the same. Mark Zuckerberg was a Democrat, then he started bootlicking for MAGA. So yes, the elites go with which admin is going to give goodies, giveaways, and guarantees to them. That's all they care about.
Or infringing on constitutional rights. But no, that's not been the reaction. This has.
What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence.
Oh, well, look at that. That's the director of the FBI for the Trump administration.
Well, Lemmy, this is an idiotic argument, but everybody had slaves. Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of nations that had pedophilia, but we're not talking about the globe. And people always try to do that when it comes to our specific justice claim. Same thing but They don't do that when it comes to the so-called Native Americans, right? We can find genocide everywhere, and we went through our own genocide and our own Holocaust. But let's just stick with the Native Americans, right? What happened to them? They're not the only people that happened to, but still, the U.S. government pays them billions and billions of dollars, and no one makes that argument. Same thing with the Jewish Holocaust. Never forget, okay, what happened to us was way longer, far more brutal and barbaric. And nobody says, well, everyone had a Holocaust. No one makes this argument. Same thing with Japanese interned. People weren't saying, well, everyone was interned. You don't make this argument. The same thing when people come over here seeking asylum and say, I was fleeing gang violence. Well, every city has gangs. Every community has gangs. You don't make this argument, right? And we're not talking about every city. We're talking about America. You wouldn't also make this argument too with the pedo, right? Pedophilia was everywhere. So we shouldn't release the Epstein files. Every country had pedophilia, right? So this argument is extremely low IQ, but you tried though.
Telling you as an American, you're not legally allowed to have a firearm on you down on the corner of a random street in America. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that was a crime? Crazy to me. I thought we had the Second Amendment. Apparently, the Second Amendment's about to go away under the Trump administration.
Yeah, they always say that too. Another thing they always like to say, it's the Jews. Okay, where on the American census does it say Jewish? There's no race called Jewish. So don't take my word for it. 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. So when people are trying to say it's the Jew, oh yeah, all you're saying is it was another white person who believes in Judaism. But they try to convince you and try to say, no, Jewish is a race. If Jewish is a race, why isn't it on the census? Which group do you think has a disproportionate amount of resources and power? In 2030, it will be MENA on the U.S. Census. MENA means Middle Eastern North African. So if Middle Eastern North Africans can get on the U.S. Census, you think that they can't get Jewish on the census? If they can get Jewish on the census, why haven't they? And since Jewish is not on the census, we have to go how the country accurately measures race and ethnicity. And what they say is 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. So they identify as white, but you're not supposed to call them white. No, they're not white. They're Jewish. Yeah, they're white Jewish people. Just like there's white Muslims and white Hindu people. The free Palestine. Palestinians are legally, socially classified as white. Yeah, some of them could check the box as Asian. Some of them could do Zoran Mondami and check that they're African American, but most of them, Syrians, like Jillian Michaels, who tries to say, do you know that I'm Arab? There's no race called Arab. Jillian Michaels is a white Syrian Arab. Palestinians are legally classified as white. So all of these people that try to say hyphen, drop the hyphen American. So why are people calling themselves Arab, Muslim, and all this other type of stuff when we know that they're white? Why is Elon and others saying we need more white babies? He's not saying we need more American babies. So yeah, why isn't, there's just an American box on the census? If anything, there is one American. It says African American, but we dropped that. We're just black, foundational black American. They only try to push this stuff to us. They won't go to the heritage Americans and say this because it will fall on deaf ears. They might get ran out the building. So they usually try to preach this behind a faceless account.
How fast MAGA decided to throw the Second Amendment and your constitutional rights in the trash to support federal agents.
Apparently, they built some railroad on the West Coast. So, yeah, you can look that up. It was less than 700 miles. But, thank them for the contribution. I just want to say, because there is a misnomer whenever they say railroads, they just immediately give all the credit to the Chinese, even though they built the least amount. And you have to ask, Who was pushing that agenda and why?
Up and doing something stupid, by the way, in the streets of America. What a time to be alive in 2026. I also want you to think about how stupid that argument is. What is a protest? A protest is the actioning of an American's first.
Yeah, this is why I say both parties are the same. People talk about Trump's bigotry and racism, which is pervasive and it is a real thing. But I say Biden is even more racist than Trump. He had mentors that were KKK leaders and grand wizards. So, yeah, he spent much of his Senate career railing against black people and pushing policies that hurt. They hurt the working class, but much of the ire went to black people. So, yes, for me, Biden was definitely worse than Trump.
Amendment constitutional rights. So the idea that if I'm going down to exercise and action my First Amendment rights, but it's illegal for me to exercise my Second Amendment rights while exercising my First Amendment rights, does that really make sense? Is that really where we're going ideology-wise, conservatives? And it's a push by the entire administration now. Here's more.
I am sorry that this gentleman is dead, but he did bring a 9mm semi-automatic weapon with 2 cartridges to what was supposed to be a peaceful protest. I think that there are.
And shout out to Alice. Alice knows about the Great Potato Famine. People just kind of forget that. So many people, they forgot that they were failing in their homeland, and that's why they came over here. They came over here because someone had already laid the groundwork and made it possible for immigrants to come over here. Those immigrants came over here and were treated like crap. And instead of linking up with the people who were being treated worse than them, they sided with the people who were treating them like crap, because they said, yeah, we'll still treat you like crap, but we'll treat you better than those niggas over there. And they signed, and they were like, sign me up. You know what I mean?
A lot of paid agitators who are ginning things up, and the governor has not done a good job at tamping this down.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, he was an ICU nurse, worked for the Veterans Administration, and there's no evidence that he branded.
Many people's mothers, fathers, and grandpeople, they remember Jim Crow, but they try to make it seem like this was just some ancient hieroglyphic time. They just act as if they don't talk about it, that it didn't exist. Look at Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones was a segregationist. He was in Arkansas. He was involved in being against, black people being integrated into the school. So many people have family members that were alive for this. They just pretend as if they don't know. And they say, well, there's not signs to say no niggers allowed and people aren't being lynched. So, things have progressed. So it's still those people that went to the lynchings. It's still the people that went to those so right now, if I see a place and it says no Mexicans allowed, why would I eat there? I'm not going to say, hey, well, I'm not Mexican, so I'm going to eat there. If they hate Mexicans, that means that, they hate other people. But all of these people, they were comfortable eating at restaurants that said no niggers allowed. All of the people that say, I never owned a slave. Yeah, you never owned a slave because you were fleeing famine. You were poor. You didn't have the resources. But you got to flip it on them. Yeah, would you have owned a slave? And then many of them will say yes. So it's just almost like, I never drove a Lamborghini. That's because you can't afford one. But if I give you the keys to a Lamborghini, you would drive one. So it's not about what you've never done, because you have the willingness to do it. Many of these people would have owned slaves if they had the resources. So the whole fact of I never owned any slaves. Yeah, you never gassed anyone in a gas chamber either, right? But your taxpayer dollars are going towards Jewish Holocaust reparations, right?
The gun whatsoever. In fact,
but he brought
disarmed before
he brought a gun. Have you ever gone to a protest, Jonathan?
I mean, we do have a Second Amendment in this country.
Oh my God, he brought a weapon to a protest. I mean, who else would do that? I don't know. You mean like this? Oh yeah, what was that during COVID that we were all complaining about? Overreach of an authoritarian government. Well, what's this? Trump supporters are staging armed protests to stick it to coronavirus. Huh, well, would you look at that? And for me, honestly, I actually support your right to do this because I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, it turns out, which I thought that's what we all were on the right. But I'm learning very quickly that's not the case. Here you go. Let's look at some more.
Yes, this is why they want us to go out there and be crash test dummies. They still are bringing up George Floyd and BLM. Literally has nothing to do with us, but yet they somehow keep trying to make it about us. And when the black people go out there, they always put them on the front page, the front cover. We're supposed to be everyone's political doormat. We get beaten, battered, bruised, and then when they pass legislations and dole out reparations, it's for every other group. So that's all they want us to be, the political mules, the political punching bag, so that they can pass legislation that's pro-immigration. And we're left holding the bag. I've already showed how it's a detriment to our community, but they don't care. They're just like, go out there and be our political whipping boys so that we can, save the immigrants and trans rights.
Listen to this dork that's in charge of the Border Patrol.
There's no evidence that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully.
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he came there beforehand.
How do you know that?
Reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
Because he was there. He was filming and documenting it, which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis.
I didn't say it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then what did he do that was illegal?
Assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime scene.
In the video that
he decided to enter into.
Now, since the right seems to be very confused about what the Second Amendment is now all of a sudden, let's see what Charlie Kirk had to say about the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment is not even about personal defense. That is important.
Okay.
The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Come on.
Well, imagine that. The Second Amendment is there to, God forbid, protect yourself if you need to against a tyrannical government. You know, the type of government that'll roll up on you as an American citizen when you're simply standing there with a camera, throw you to the ground, disarm you, and then shoot you 15 times while you're no longer a threat. Like, is that what the Second Amendment is for? I'm just asking. I'm not really sure anymore. And it's such.
And notice how the Heritage Americans, they don't call out the fake $5 Indians, i.e., Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, Trump called her Pocahontas, and then they kind of swept that under the rug. They don't talk about the identity theft. Where is Elizabeth Warren's family really from? You know what I mean? What race is she? Because there's no race called Native American. So what race is Elizabeth Warren? You know what I mean? What tribe is she really from? So if Elizabeth Warren was called Lion, how many others were called Lion? But they don't make that argument. They're not pushing and saying, hey, we shouldn't be giving them more money. You know why? Because they're giving money to people that look like Elizabeth Warren, the same race as them. That's why you don't hear a bunch of hoopla about that. But I thought identity theft was a huge thing, culturally appropriating, culturally leeching and tethering. But no one cares if you got the complexion for their protection, i.e. Elizabeth Pocahontas Navajo Cherokee Warren.
It's a bizarre one to me because this is such an easy open and shut thing for the right to be outraged by. A massive infringement on Second Amendment rights from a law-abiding citizen. The right should be up in arms with pitchforks right now.
This is idiotic. Africa has slaves today. Well, I'm not African. We're American, right? And many Europeans have African descent, right? Many Europeans have African ancestry. So why aren't you over there, right? They act like we're the world's police. So if we're the world police, why won't they go over there and police Africa? If you know about slaves in Africa and we're the global police, right? And we're against injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So why isn't the U.S. global police in Africa breaking up the slave trade? Don't complain about something that you're not doing anything about. I'm not African. I'm American. So won't you go over there then? Aren't you Christian, right? Many of those Africans and Christians, many of those Africans in Africa are Christian. So why aren't you going over there? Blacks won't go there to help free them. Whites are not going over there. Why is it obligated for blacks? Why are you making it about race? See, look how these MAGA maniacs and brain-deaded buffoons talk. They say don't make it about race, and then they say go to Africa and help them because it's about race. Well, we're not making it about race. We're making it about national identity and ethnicity. So I'm American. So I'm going to be America first, not Africa first, right? Of course, I don't want to see a slave trade happen anywhere, but why aren't you doing anything about it? Instead, Brendan, the bigoted bitch, because that's what you are. You sound like a whiny ass bitch making comments like this. Won't you go help free them? It's a lot of poverty in the European nations. Why aren't you over there in Europe? That's where your homeland is. Your family fled here. You come from an immigrant background. Why aren't you in your homeland in Europe helping clean that up? Instead, you got a bunch of European people complaining about open borders, even though the majority of their countries are like 90% white. Oh my God, the Muslims are taking over. If the Muslims are taking over, that's because the white people in power let them in. So your gripe is with people that look like you. Why are you even bringing up Africa when I'm talking about American lineage business? You should be ashamed of yourself. Go back to your homeland, which is not here. It's in Europe.
And even people like Asmongold who love ICE and the federal government, most of them are even saying the same thing. Well, imagine that. The Second Amendment is there to, God forbid, protect yourself if you need to against a tyrannical government. You know, the type of government that'll roll up on you as an American citizen when you're simply standing there with a camera, throw you to the ground, disarm you, and then shoot you 15 times while you're no longer a threat.
What percent of Germans were Nazis? Right? People always say America, the people that own slaves. It doesn't matter. The people that own slaves, the people that didn't own slaves agreed with the slave owners. So this kind of defeats your talking point. Y'all got to come with some better talking points, right? You know, it's almost like 1.4% of Americans were pedophiles. Yeah. And the other people were sitting around watching the pedos do pedo activity. So they're just as bad, right? You weren't fighting to end slavery. You were okay with it. The only issue was that you guys were fleeing failure, so you didn't have enough money to afford slaves. The issue wasn't that they were against slavery. It's just that you were broke and you were a peasant, so you couldn't afford it. So these people were okay with slavery. So bringing up these false numbers, which is a lie, saying that 1.4% of Americans own slaves, even if this was true, that's a significant number. And the people that didn't own slaves agreed with it. So get some better talking points, bro. This is not a high IQ response. And could you answer me? What percentage, since you know all of these things, slavery was everywhere, okay? What percentage of Germans were Nazis? Were they all, was it 100%? Let me know.
Like, is that what the Second Amendment is for? I'm just asking. Not really sure anymore. And it's such a bizarre one to me because this is such an easy open and shut thing for the right.
Yeah, he has some controversial movies. I know some people think that he may have some bigoted proclivities. I'll say that Quentin Tarantino, his movies are off the chain. I like Desperado. I would have to say my favorite is Django.
To be outraged by. A massive infringement on Second Amendment rights from a law-abiding citizen. The right should be up in arms with pitchforks right now. And even people like...
Yes, this confirms what I said. Jewish is considered an ethnicity. Like I said, there's no race called Jewish. So all of the people that say it's the Jews, okay, there's no race called Jewish. So for historical accuracy purposes, what race were those Jews? So you have like 2% Ashkenazi or whatever it's called on my genetics report. Siamese stormtrooper, we've already identified you as a lib trooper, and it sounds like you're a white Jewish lib trooper, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Asmongold who love ICE and the federal government, most of them are even saying the same thing.
It looks like they pulled his shirt up, and then it's this guy right here that has the gun, right? So there's the gun right there. I mean, the guy reaches over him with an empty hand, and then his hand comes back, and he has the gun. You would logically assume that he just picked up the guy's gun, especially whenever usually somebody has a gun that's on their side, right? And that's kind of where he reached.
Now, most people from any side, left, right, center, that are critical.
So look at the low IQ responses from this dude or this person. Penciler Arab is another tab on my genetics report. Bro, do you even know what these terms mean? That doesn't matter, bro. We're talking about America. There's no box that says penciler Arab, bro. There's no box that says Jewish. So here you are muddying the waters, incoherently babbling, bro. You're white. Just say that you're white. We're talking about America, not the globe, bro. America. There's a U.S. census. There's no box that says Arab. There's no box that says Muslim. There's no box that says Jewish. You check the white box. There's nothing wrong with being white. See, and this is where it gets cowardly, where people say it's okay to be white. Yeah, it is okay to be white. So stop acting like you're not white. This is becoming pathetic, bro. Many people that are Middle Eastern, they check the box white. If you check the box white, I'm gonna call you white. No, call me Middle Eastern. Yeah, or I'll call you what you identify as, which is white. So like, why are we playing these goofy games? It's okay to be white, but you're scared to say that you're white. Stop being a little pussy, man. Say it with your chest. You should be proud to be white. White power. Like, why are you acting weird, bruh?
Thinkers are in agreement on this one. This one is not a difficult one at all, but you still have MAGA influencers saying shit like this.
Dude, not only did he pull the firearm, he clacked off a round. He pulled a gun and tried to shoot federal officers.
So bigoted, low IQ Brendan is saying Obama pushed segregation through the way he only spoke to Black Americans, saying my people, whereas Trump. Are you kidding me, bro? Like you must be young, bro. You know, wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and just say that you're young and naive. If you're not young and you consider yourself extremely astute and, you know, intelligible, then this would have to refute that. This is a low IQ response. Obama said, I'm not the president of Black America. I'm the president of all America. So he pivoted. When they asked him about reparations, he didn't support it. He didn't do anything for Black people. He did something for DACA, for Latino immigrants. He did something for gay people. He did something for the cops. He signed the, you know, the blue law, whatever, the blue something law. So, bruh, you're not really formidable enough to have this discussion, bro. Go sit in the corner, bro. Eat a mayonnaise sandwich and drink some lemonade, bro. Come back when you've read some more.
Yeah, you get shot for that.
Guys, the level of simping for Donald Trump, for another grown man, for other politicians in people like this is not a difficult one at all. But you still have MAGA influencers saying shit like this.
Dude, not only did he pull the firearm, he clacked off a round. He pulled a gun and tried to shoot federal officers. Yeah, you get shot for that.
Guys, the level of simping for Donald Trump, for another grown man, for other politicians in people like this is mind-blowing. I have never seen a political party abandon its supposed values so fast than in this situation. It's absolutely insane. So here's the deal. And people seem, the right seems so confused by this right now, and I don't know why. So you can actually be supportive of law enforcement, of the military, and still want a standard upheld. We want good police work being done in our communities. And if you are so brain rotted into the tribalism of your own political party that you can't look at a situation like this,
and so here we have the Siamese Jewish stormtrooper, the white Jewish stormtrooper. Bruh, all your community does is complain. They were complaining and saying that they were victims. Oh my God, they said globalize the intifada. So your community was, you know, so petrified that somebody said free Palestine from the river to the sea. And then they got tens of millions of dollars in reparations allocated for them. So yeah, your community is always complaining. They call everything anti-Semitic, you know what I mean? Which is why people like you, the Siamese Jewish white liberal stormtrooper, is always pushing these anti-Black narratives and rhetoric. But clearly, you know, you have a low IQ. You're a low IQ liberal lunatic who's a white Jew. You know what I mean? Shocker.
Left, right, or center and be like, this was wrong. There needs to be accountability for this. We cannot have this becoming the norm in the streets. Then there's not a lot of hope for you. And I would say this, if you just, all you have to do is just juxtapose if this was 4 years ago, switch it out, have the Biden administration in charge. If law enforcement, federal agents were, let's say, out, I don't know, enforcing COVID laws and were yanking people out of their cars or killing people in the streets, law-abiding citizens who are just out and about with a concealed carry permit on them, the right would be furiously outraged. All you would hear on Fox News.
So clearly, like I said, you're a low IQ, liberal, white Jewish lunatic. And I'm saying what you are to specify because no one could see your face. You don't really have any arguments. All of your arguments could be easily debunked. And all you're saying is you're black, you're black. No, none of these stories have anything to do with black people, yet you keep trying to frame it around black people. There were white people who killed Charlie Kirk. These were white Border Patrol agents who killed a white person. It was a white ICE officer who killed a white woman, yet you're still trying to make it about black people in Africa. Focus on cleaning up your own community, right? Actually, why don't you focus on the Jewish community, right? There's a story by some dude, something Oliveira, where he talks about this Hasidic Jewish community where some of them are having upwards of 17 and 18 kids and they disproportionately use and abuse welfare. That's your community and culture. Go talk about them. Stop worrying about black people. You know what I mean?
All day long for the next month is about this. But because Trump's in charge, now the federal.
I would concur. The census is inaccurate with their record keeping. However, since MAGA maniacs and even the lefty lunatics, they're not pushing to abolish the census. They'll say abolish ICE, but they won't abolish the census. So if they don't want the census abolished, they agree with it. And we have to adhere to the parameters and framework of the census. So if people are going to be checking white on the census, you can't tell me, don't call me white, even though that's what I identify as legally. Doesn't even make any sense.
Government has full immunity to do whatever it wants to our citizens. Like, what are you doing, MAGA? What is this? So if you're the type of person, and especially if you're a Republican or calling yourself a conservative, and you are saying, oh, well, don't bring a loaded firearm down to a protest if you don't want to get shot and killed. Nah, dude. No, we're not. We are not playing that game with you. We're not doing those mental gymnastics that now the Second Amendment is the bad guy.
Another low IQ response by Brendan, the bigot, is Nazi rhetoric by the left. Since when did your side care about Nazi rhetoric? And I'm getting sick of people talking about the Gestapo and Nazis. Nazis learned from America, right? People will try to push and say, yeah, but they took it to another level. Did they really though? That's debatable. And let's just say that they did hypothetically take it to another level. Who did they get it from? Who were they inspired by? Adolf talks about this in Mein Kampf, how he talks about how he modeled how he treated the Jews off of Jim Crow and the black subjugation here. There was an American Nazi party and it wasn't a leftist party. Did y'all forget about the American Nazi Party? Why are we pretending like these Nazis are just so bad? And oh my God, this isn't the American values that I know. Yes, it is. Nazis were inspired, influenced, and learned from Americans.
Because law enforcement officers did something fucking stupid. And Republicans especially, obviously, you're going to get blown out regardless. But if you think now becoming the party that's against the Second Amendment is going to do well with your base, yeah, good luck. Because when the FBI director is out here parroting Beto O'Rourke firearm talking points about how you're not legally allowed to carry a firearm in America, yeah, you better see something, especially out of the National Rifle Association, because if you don't step up and denounce this, you're a fucking joke. But we're going to find out.
Bro, what is your obsession with black people? People like Brendan, literally, they just wake up and people like him is why you have terms like BBC, big black cock. Think about that. A black person didn't come up with that term. A white person came up with an acronym for another man's penis. How pathetic could you be? People like Brendan is always thinking about black cock. The blacks need to do this and blacks need to do that. You're not black. What does your community need to do? Right? Focus on your community. Have some personal accountability. Have some responsibility. Why are you fixated on the black community? You're not black. If you want to get railed from behind from a BBC, this is not the place. Go on Grindr. They have apps for that, bruh. You're not even making any sense. You're just, the blacks do this, the blacks do that, right? Okay, you're blaming black people, but your problems are because of your community. Peter Thiel, people like that, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, people of your community that look like you. You can't afford a home, right? You're struggling. You're pathetic twerp. But yet you're blaming black people when it's people that look like you is why you live a miserable existence. Come on, Brandon, step your game up, bruh. Get out of your mama's basement, bruh. It's not George Floyd's fault that you're a loser, bruh.
How bad this tribalism is, and just see if MAGA has officially made the decision to abandon being the party of constitutionalism. Wild times in 2026. It's going to do it for this one. Catch y'all in the next video.
Okay, so that was the video right there. What do y'all think? Did MAGA, and not all, but some of MAGA, appears to be bootlicking for Trump and willing to give up their rights, you know, just so that we don't make Trump look bad? I know Trump, yeah, and like Sunlight says, they envy BBC. Look at, there's a site called black.com where you see some of the most beautiful white women and they only get railed by black dudes. Jake Paul, like when he was boxing, he was training with a big black dildo, using it as a punching bag. It's just this obsession. When you look at many of these porn sites that are not run by black people, they love to see like mainly non-black, but you know, these little blonde hair, blue-eyed, all-American chicks get railed by some black mandingo warrior, right? I have black fatigue. And then you say, what you about to go do? They about to go rub one into the corner of some black dude named Jamal beating the brakes off of Becky. He hitting Becky from the bike. Just how they like. Just how Brendan. So I get it, Brendan. You know, there's probably a dude named Tyrone or Man or Lil Half Dead. You know, he stole your chick, right? He stole your bitch, you feel me? And you know, you mad about that. I get it. I understand, bro, but don't take it out on the black community just because you got your bitch snatched. You feel me? It is what it is, bro, you know. But yeah, so I'm gonna get ready to shut her down. I do want to give a shout out and a thank you to all of the people who have viewed this concurrently and that will be watching this on a replay game. I believe this has been a fruitful stream. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, at least momentarily, and for that, I thank you. So I'm gonna do a rundown of a few quick visuals, so I won't be here too much longer, so y'all can stick around for the next 10 minutes or so, and we'll get ready to wind this thing down. Now, if you are enjoying the content, feel free to hit the like button, share, subscribe. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. Now, however, if you do want to make a contribution, you know what I mean, and you want to support the show monetarily, then you can do so like this.
I think it's about time you gave me my money. I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. My money. I need cash. My money. I need cash. My money.
And before we get out of here, I would be remiss. You know, I'm gonna hit you. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, Shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain
aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Some cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. If I ride up on them with the 40 ounces, it's a definition of adrenaline rush. What he do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. For the zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your fit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Goku. For the cocaine, they go poo-poo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God, it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite rack and then fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy that dude. B-Eazy that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude, yeah, they know the name. B-Eazy that dude. You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.